Hey, Mark, how's it going, buddy?
Hi, Dan. Good morning. Happy Friday. It's good to be back. I know I
Uh-huh.
missed the last couple of shows. It's good to be back.
I know I was out last week too on vacation, so I'm glad to be back today. Welcome everybody that's tuning in. We'll bring Jean-Marc up here. If you don't know Jean-Marc, he's a legend, I would say, in the space, and then
Yeah.
also in the Canadian research world as well. I'm sure a lot of people know him up there. So we'll bring him in. I think we have a few announcements that we wanted to go over
hmm
first. So I think the one that we have is Ray
Yeah.
Pointer and myself are doing a webinar on behalf of ESOMAR and MRII on April 13th. So you'll be hearing more about that. Make sure you register. It'll be about this process of continuous discovery, something that we've
Yeah.
been talking about recently, and more so, obviously, with the webinar coming up. So be on the lookout for that, and we'll be pushing it out. I know SMR and MRII will be as well. And I think with that, I don't know, Mark, do we have any other announcements that we wanted to cover today?
No, I think we're good, Dan. But I'm just putting the link to the Experience Journal article that you co-authored with Ray,
Okay.
so that people can take a look at it before the webinar. We'll obviously post the link to the registration in the next week or so. But I
Yeah.
just wanted to give people a heads up to that.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a good synopsis of some of the points that we'll be covering in that webinar. So that's awesome. And then yeah, I think that's all the announcements. I mean, stay tuned. There'll be lots of things coming up. Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention is if you're going to be at IIEX, we'll be there in full force. So let me know. Reach out to me if you're going to be there. I would love to meet up with anybody that's coming and anybody that I've already met or new people. Feel free to stop by. We'll also have a kiosk there as well and a lounge. So feel free to come by and chat with us and say hello. I'll be more than happy to also show you guys around Austin. Local here. So Crystal's the marketing manager. We've been putting together some different activities and fun things for people. So yeah, if you're going to be at IIEX, definitely reach out. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and bring in Jean-Marc here.
Hi.
Jean-Marc, welcome.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Awesome.
Good
So
morning.
for those who don't know you, and I'd be surprised if there are people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, so of course I'm in the market research for the last over 35 years. That's a lot. Usually I'm always the youngest around the table. Now I'm one of the oldest around the table, so many years after. So I created Leger, so it's the largest Canadian-owned company, but I manage also international association across the world, and
Mhm.
we support also ESOMAR, who's the greatest association.
Yeah.
And so really involved in the industry. So not only on the business perspective, but also to help the youngest people, to help the people to better train. And so we have a lot of activities to help the industry overall.
Right. No, that's awesome. And then you do a lot in the polling space as well, right? Am I correct in that?
Yeah, political poll, it's 1% of my business, Dan, but 99% of my trouble. Every time we publish something, you will have someone who say, "Oh no, it's not true." With all the social media tools currently, but also it's one of the expertise of Leger, and every year we're the most accurate company in Canada because we have a lot of knowledge in the industry, and it's more and more difficult because voters are less loyal, and of course we develop different tools to continue to publish it across North America, Canada, and USA.
Right. And this might be a good segue into what are, in general, it doesn't have to be with polling, what are some of what's unique about the Canadian research market that people might not know of or be aware of? Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, of course, Canadian market is different than the U.S. market. It's more regional market. So in the U.S., no matter where you are, you will do business across USA. In Canada, you need to have you need to be located in every market if you want to do business. For example, had office across the country, not in BC, British Columbia. So we didn't get any clients from British Columbia. It's really a regional market. So you need to see as Canadian, the four major market. The Toronto market and Ontario market is the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
After that, you have the Quebec market, the French market. I have a French accent. I'm coming from Quebec side. You have the western part with Alberta and all the oil industry. And you have the BC market also. So it's different than the US on this. But more than that, price are higher here in Quebec. So people charge more for research. So we don't have the same price pressure that you have in the US. But also on the other side, clients are more patient than in the US. We don't have the same pressure to deliver the same week. So that's important. And maybe then the last one, and maybe the most important one, US are always 2 years ahead. So for us, it's really fantastic to be close to US market because we know what you're doing today is what we will do in the next 2 years in terms of technologies, platforms, clients' needs, or new players in the industry. So looking the market gave us an overview of what will happen in Canada.
Got it. That makes sense. And
Very
then
interesting.
just to kind of drill down a little bit more into that, why do you think that is that you need these more regional offices? Is it because of cultural differences in each area, or is it something else that I'm not thinking of?
A cultural experience, but also the environment is different. We have the big major US companies are on the market, but a lot of regional players, local and regional players. So if you are in Quebec, for example, you will not compete against only Home Depot coming from the US, but you will have Rona, for example. You don't know in the US, but they are strong in the market. Same thing in the banking system. We have a bank in Quebec who control 50% of the market share. So and the banking system is different across Canada. So you have provincial rules that also have an impact on the environment. So that's why it's so different. Also, you have the cultural difference. Toronto is probably the most ethnic city in the world. 50% of the people who's living currently in Toronto were born outside Canada.
Really?
So,
I didn't realize it was that high. Wow.
It's a huge challenge for a market researcher because you are so different markets. So you have the Indian market, you will have the European market, you have the people Latin America market. So you need to address differently to those markets. So it's different. Same thing in Vancouver, different market. You have the India market, Chinese market. So you need to adapt. And it's not like USA. Canada. It's 10 times. USA, it's 10 times Canada. So you have small local market that you need to address. So I need local expertise across the country if I want to succeed here.
That's really interesting. I didn't even realize that you would need to have those, different regions and offices in each one of those. It makes sense. The more that I hear from you, obviously that does make a lot of sense. So in terms of kind of switching gears a little bit, and I know you just mentioned that the US is behind Canada, or the Canada's behind the US rather a little bit, but taking that aside, or maybe if you want to kind of go dive into that, what would you say are like the top 3 trends in the industry today that you're seeing emerge?
And probably the same that in USA also. Right, the same in USA, not at the same. They don't have the same strengths, or maybe in USA you will have a better platform, you will have a more efficient platform. So I will say 3 things. The first one is, of course, all the technologies that change everything in the market. So the new platform we're having every day and more accessible, cheapest than it was, or cheaper than it was. So new technologies for the first trend. The second one is same thing in USA and probably more difficult in Canada. It's a labor shortage. It's really difficult, to find people in Canada because the rate of employment is so high. So overall, this is a huge issue in the industry. And I will say the third one, Dan, will be the data security. So we need to invest so much money to ensure the security of our information. So it's this is for me the 3 main trends that we are working on and ensure that we will address this correctly.
Got it. That makes sense. And then for the labor shortage, I'm kind of interested in, what are some of your tactics there? Is it pulling people from similar industries and teaching them about market research, or is it something else that I'm not thinking? What are some of the tactics you're using to kind of address that labor shortage within the industry?
For Leger, we're publishing a lot of stories. So this is the reputation. You will have more than 50% of the population who knows Leger. One of the reasons we want to attract talent. So this is something important. The second one, it's not only to attract talent, but to retain talent. And this is a huge challenge because, of course, people, they get offered, they're receiving offer from all over the world, and mostly from my own clients who compete us. So we created a program internally this year, what we call People First. So it means the strategic plan of the company, it's not to reach this number or to reach this number of profit. No. how I can be sure that my team has the winning condition around them to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And this is crucial because that's the way you retain talent.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Different techniques, different program, just to be sure. Flexible, of course, hybrid system, but also the salary conditions, all that stuff. We invested a lot in the people this year, particularly.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's actually an interesting point to me because I think if you invest in people, then the byproduct is all the things that you want, right? It's revenue, growing, and so forth. So that's an interesting approach, I think, that you took.
Yeah, it's a people business, of course. If my people are better trained, if they have better tools, they will serve better the client. So our first client then is our employees.
Yeah,
interesting. If happy, they will deliver.
Very interesting.
Interesting. And you know, Sonia Lucina, who leads our workforce platform, I'm sure she's cheering right now if she's listening to this because, you know, these are the things that she's passionate about and that she always champions. So you're speaking her language there for sure. In terms of speaking about passion, in terms of market research, what are some of the things that you're most passionate about in the industry?
Oh, I'm a researcher. And the company we built, Leger, is researchers manage a company. We don't have professional managers. It's researcher. We have to train them to become real good manager, but they're researcher. Same thing for me. I still continue to work with clients. And what I'm passionate about is finding the insight. Yeah. The insight will transform the life of our client. So sometimes you succeed, sometimes not. But I give you an example. In Quebec, you have an alcohol society. All the alcohols that they're selling in Quebec are a government society named SAQ. So they pay me a lot to do a survey, and I don't want to do the survey because it was not useful about the brand and all that stuff. I said, no, I did a survey what I want, and they paid a lot, $200,000, and I arrived presenting to the clients one line. This line will change your life forever. So my report to the board was one page with one paragraph, one line. And the line was simple. Someone who arrive in the store and don't talk to anyone will buy for $32 as an average. If you arrive at the store and talk to someone, ask some advice, he will spend for $45. If you arrive in the store and someone came and offered, say, you should take that drink because here is the reason why, they will spend for $65. You could double your income if your people are better trained. So that's an insight. That's why we're doing that job, to find this idea to transform the client's life.
Yeah, what's interesting is that insight is worth well more than $200,000 that they paid for it, right? So
exactly.
It's interesting. Yeah, I love that.
When they asked me to do the survey, they said, we want to know the brand. Is it classic brand? Is it Depot? Means a lot of so different brand. I say, people don't care about the brand. They care they want to buy alcohol. They don't care the store. So at times you have to say no to clients. You're in the right direction. And think out of the box. But that's the fun part of the business. When you deliver this insight, client is happy, and you take your report and change the company. So we did that over the years, and we like doing that.
Right. No, and I think you're spot on there. And that, to maybe dive into this a little more, when I was at the liquor store here, and I don't really care about the brand of bourbon that I'm going to drink, but if the clerk comes over to me and says, hey, I've tried this one, it's really good, I'm probably going to take that advice more and probably buy not only the bottle I was going to buy, but another bottle. So I can validate this research, Jean-Marc.
Exactly. All the process, for example, we did a segmentation. Then we find that we have 5 different customers. So the consultant has to ask 2 questions to understand, is it number 1, the discovery guy, or number 2 or number 3? And after that, you could guide the guys to buy the right wine. And people want to buy, but sometimes you're not ready to offer. Exactly, they want to spend money. So they have money. So I just want to be sure that it's they will pay you rather than your competitor.
That's true. That's true. Now I got to ask you, when you walked into the board and you had, the one page with like the one line, were people like, was it met with some opposition? Like, where's the rest of this, or were they satisfied with that?
Yeah, I was, the president of the board knows that I will arrive with that.
Okay.
On the other side of the board of the room, outside of the room, I had the boxes with all the report and all that stuff.
Okay. All
It's
right.
just to say, to understand, and they changed everything after that. They changed the way they handle the stores and everything to say, okay, consultant is the key. So this is crucial. You find that with qualitative research or a different kind of research. Sometimes it's how to find the ideas, and technique are there to find the ideas. And sometimes in our business, they just do a quant survey, 1,000 interviews, or qual research. Techniques is just a tool to help the client to take the right decision.
Interesting. Got it. So switching gears a little bit, I think we talked about some of these things around maybe the importance of associations like ESOMAR. I want to hear from you around, what's the importance around it, and why are you so much involved? Obviously, I know because I'm involved as well, but I think people would like to hear from you around sort of the importance of associations like ESOMAR. And you might say the data security or the people, and we mentioned some of these things, but in your words, like what's the importance around the associations like ESOMAR and others out there?
I was always involved in international associations. First, they're not direct competitors, so you could share information, knowledge, clients sometime. So you could create your network, but it's more than that. The market is changing so fast with technological change, with the analytics capabilities, with access to metadata. You need to understand where the market is leaning. And ESOMAR, like Insight, like MRIA, and like other associations, give us access to new information and to reporting or to new techniques, just to understand where the market is leaning. And as a leader and a businessman, I want to put my company in the right direction. So being part of an international association gave us an overview of what's working and what's not across the world. So this information helped me to take better decision when we say, okay, we're going in that direction or in other direction. That's helped us also to understand who's hot in the market, why this company perform, what's this platform is so useful for the client. So having this kind of perspective gives you a direction to the company more than what you could get in your own country. Across, even if the USA is number one in the most technological advanced in market research, they're half of the market in the world. You will find people in India or people in Italy or people in South America that doing fantastic things. And having access to these successes give us a lot of leverage on our own market.
I think that's a good point, the holistic view of it. And it's more of a global perspective, right? I think it is interesting because people are trying different things in other areas that if you were only focused on things in the US, you would obviously miss out. So it is a good way to hear about all of the wonderful things people are doing outside.
Yeah, and I remember Dan, a few years ago, TNS bought the conversion model. That was it was a South African company who created this model, and it became an international model. But it was two guys somewhere in South Africa who discovered that. So you have a lot of good ideas across the world that you need to understand. And sometimes, you will find the idea who will also help your own company in your own country.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah. And then even from a member standpoint, just being able to network with people, I think is interesting, and learning about different cultures, how they're doing things. I think that's been interesting to me, just getting on a call and hearing about different things, and even the Congress, obviously, for ESOMAR is this September. So just getting all these people together from around the world is amazing, I think.
It's amazing, and it's so important that we reinvent our company every year. Same thing with Question Pro and others. You have to reinvent, and you did it. Reinvent to be sure that you could adapt your company to the new condition in the market. Leger, when we're working on our strategic plan, it's a 6 months plan. I don't want to plan for the next 5 years. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So every 6 months, we have strategic meetings. Okay, what is the priorities there, and having concrete actions and how we could apply that. So before taking that decision, I need to get the information from others and transform it for our Canadian market. Of course, the culture is different in Canada than USA or in some countries in the world. So you need to adapt to our own reality. And at the end, at the end, it's not the best product or the best technology win. It's the technology or the product that the clients will buy. And sometimes
that is an interesting point, my friend. I like that a lot. And think about if you had a 5-year plan in 2020, like you had to throw that out the window because, the pandemic and everything totally changed all of that. So the 6 month, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and pandemic, for example, I'm the expert in the healthcare sector. It was a fantastic year. Public affairs, fantastic year. Retail, it was so difficult. So money's there, but it's only changed a pocket. So you need to adapt yourself to the new realities. And technologies also change a lot. Because if you could master the technology, we don't have our own platform, but we are really good to integrate platform at Leger, and that gave us an advantage on the market. It's changed so quickly. We need to adapt ourselves.
Yeah, you do. I love the 6 month thing. I think that's awesome. We do something similar here at Question Pro with, we have like strategic plan for a long term, but make changes frequently and then obviously adjust to those as they come up. So
it's a fantastic job working in market research. We're at the right place at the right moment because we have access to so many data and we have so many techniques that we could interpret that. We're at the right place. This business has a really a good future. As we could see in the last few days, Leger grew by 41% last year.
Nice.
So it's fun. The question, we need to manage that also. We have to refuse clients, But that's a fun part when you say to the clients, I can't do your job. Oh, I like that.
They want you more. They want you more, right? Awesome. Well, hey, Jean-Marc, I think we can wrap it up. I really appreciate you joining me today. Super interesting conversation. We'll have to do a part 2, I think, at some point in the future. I'd love to have you back on. But I really appreciate your time and coming on today.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean-Marc. Good having you on.
All right.
Bye.
See you.
Bye. Awesome.
Very
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Mark, did you realize the Canadian market's so much different than the US market?
No, I did not. And I did not know that. And every time I used to speak with DJ, he used to say like a version of this to me always.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wondered why. But obviously after today's conversation with Jean-Marc, I understand why he was saying that. That's pretty interesting.
And I think there's even like subtle differences too. Like for instance, DJ would tell me like, no, that's a Canadian no. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They said maybe, they might do it. He's like, no, that means that's a no in Canada. I'm like, oh, okay, good to know. So there are like, I think
it's a nice way of saying no.
Talking about these regional differences, but there's even, these cross-cultural differences. So it's interesting.
That is very cool.
Awesome.
While he was actually talking about the ethnic diversity in Toronto, I actually very quickly put in an instant answers question about what people across Canada thought too. So I would love to see what the responses in that are. I'm sure it'll check out, but it's very, very interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah, you should post those results on LinkedIn when you get it so we can see.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, hey, everyone, thank you for watching the show today. Mark, thank you. And we won't be back next week. Question Pro has a company-wide holiday. So, no, it's not April Fool's. We really do have the day off. So we're going to enjoy that. And then we'll be back in 2 weeks. So appreciate everyone's time today. Thanks for tuning in. And with that, we'll wrap up the show.
All right. Thanks. We'll see you soon.
All right, thanks, everyone.